Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
Well, what up, Mark? We surviving this month, okay?
Oh yeah, we're surviving. Yeah, this is this week was a little different. But remind us what the theme. What the
I don't
theme
want to
is.
talk about this theme. It doesn't make sense. It's
It
the
makes
Mount
perfect
Rushmore, and we've got it completely wrong. So it's the Mount Rushmore of slasher villains, except there's 5 heads as opposed to 4.
It's
And
fine.
also Leprechaun is on there. So as you
Yep.
know, it's fucked up beyond belief. However, this week we're looking at a Chucky film, and I chose the Chucky film, and it was Bride of Chucky from 1998, starring Brad Dourif as Chucky, as he's always been, as well as Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany, Katherine Heigl as Jade, Alexis Arquette as Damien, John Ritter is in here, as well as Nick Stabile, who plays Jesse. I don't know what else he's ever been in, but this, and it's rated R, and it runs for an hour and a half. That's a brisk run time.
Yeah, it's actually less than an hour. It's hour 29.
Yeah.
So if you're playing the Price is Right,
I went over. That's my
You
bad.
went over. Yeah, you're done. So I take it you had.
Oh, many times.
You've
I've seen
seen
this
this.
several times. I have seen every Chucky film, most of them multiple times, but this one probably the most of all. Because
Why is
it hits the I really like horror movies that have a sense of humor and that are a lot of fun. And I think of all of Chucky's films, this one hits that nail better than all the others. It's a lot of fun. It's funny. It doesn't take itself that seriously. It's got the right amount of gore and thrills. I think it's personally my favorite Chucky film.
Okay.
How about you?
Huh,
You've seen it,
fair.
right?
I have never seen this.
You've never seen this. Oh,
I had never seen this film. I knew of it.
Have you watched Chucky films?
I've seen the first Chucky,
Which is
And-
arguably
and-
one of the best as well, but for different reasons. That's very much a more straightforward horror film.
Right,
And it's
correct.
fantastic. But this is definitely horror comedy.
and then I'd seen the the Chucky sci-fi show.
Which is
Which
a
I
good
thought-
show. That's a good
Yeah,
show.
no, right. I enjoyed it, and it was kind of a reintroduction to the character, in my opinion. The show was, like it being a direct continuation, but also doing enough to reestablish the character. I thought, and so I really liked that, and so. It's been a long time since I saw the first Chucky, and I always knew Bride of Chucky existed. I didn't realize it was as old as it is, but watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty ancient film, which is
Ancient.
right, which is wild to say because it's from 1998, but
So I think it's the same age as Scream 2, isn't it?
yeah, Scream 2 was 97, I think, but yeah, roughly. And so why did so you picked this one because it's your favorite?
And I think
Yeah, so-
it's the one that you would most likely not hate.
No,
mean,
right.
I
wasn't
first
pre-
one and this one would be your most likely not to hate. I also, again, thought it would be the most fun.
Yeah.
I also think that you don't need a ton of backstory to get into this one. You basically kind of get most of the details through news clippings and a little exposition here and there, but I think it does a good job of it. So I think it's a good jumping on point for Chucky.
Yeah. I agree. You didn't like it did a good job of kind of establishing, hey, Chucky is dead and now he's got to come back to life,
Which
And-
happens a whole lot. And
Right,
even
in
at the
the
end of the
film,
movie, it's
even-
like, go ahead
right.
and shoot me, but
Yeah.
I'll be back, which he is.
Right.
So I take it
wasn't-
you haven't seen Seed of Chucky, which is the follow-up to this. It's
No.
insane. It's this, but like nobody gave a fuck. It's
Right,
crazy.
which is what the end of this film alludes to,
Leads
right?
to the seed of Chucky. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wasn't prepared for the amount of, like, this is almost straight up comedy at times.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for this to actually not be a horror film. And there's death. These Chucky and Tiffany, they go around killing folks, but it's like there really isn't any horror element to it, other than the character himself is a horror character. But I wonder why they decided to go away from, like, I don't know, it was Chucky 2 a horror film as well? 'Cause I haven't seen that one
Chucky
either.
1, 2, and 3 are all pretty similar. I mean, Chucky 1 is the most horror. And they do kind of stick to a very similar formula. That's another reason I like Bride of Chucky, is it doesn't follow that formula of doll trying to kill Andy. So like the main good guy of the series is Andy. And this is the first movie without Andy in it, but he does come back later. So another reason why I picked this is you don't have to worry about the saga with Andy, because the first two movies are with Andy and the doll coming back, and there's the third one. It's a different casting because Andy is much older and he goes to military school, and it's the least favorite of the first trilogy. And the other thing is I realized that this, for the first time watching this, is how inspired by Scream this movie is, in that it's younger and hipper. And it, like Scream, has that comedy horror blend to it. So, and Scream 1 was 96. I think you said 97 for Scream 2. Yeah. And even if you look at the poster, but for Scream 1 and The Bride of Chucky, they're kind of similar. So I think there was definitely a huge amount of inspiration there.
So this guy that directed this, Ronnie Yu, also went on in 2003 to direct Freddy vs. Jason.
Hell yeah, great movie.
So and he doesn't have anything else as any mainstream film. But imagine putting on your resume, your film resume. Imagine being a director and putting on your film resume that you have directed 3 of the most iconic horror characters in existence.
I mean, that'd be a pretty good thing to have.
I think you could probably hang it up. And the guy hasn't directed anything since 2013, so he probably has hung it up. But imagine being able to say that you had a hand in directing 3 iconic film characters. I mean, that's pretty cool. Even though Freddy vs. Jason wasn't any good, but
whoa, what?
I didn't think it was any good.
Oh man, it was awesome. Like, I think it was great. I think it nailed what it was going for. It was a whole hell of a lot better than Alien versus Predator. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It was written by Wes Craven, Freddy vs. Jason. I didn't realize that.
It's a good movie. I'm just going to have a firm disagreement. Agree to disagree. I think.
It's been a. I think I saw that film in the theaters, but I haven't seen it since, and I remember it not being good.
So more importantly than Ronnie Wu is actually Don Mancini, who is the longtime sort of creative heart of Chucky. He has written or been a part of, I think, all of the Child's Play films, with maybe the exception of the remake, though that one was terrible. And of course, Don Mancini wasn't involved. But because of him being the head, I've always appreciated Chucky more so than really any other horror series, except maybe Scream, of having a consistent narrative. It doesn't retcon itself very often. And when it does, it's pretty minor. Like, there's a retcon in this movie where Chucky, or the killer, Charles Lee Ray, dies with this amulet on him. That didn't happen in the first movie, so they added that in. But that's like the hardest retcon they really do in these movies. They tend to keep all the characters, and so if you do watch the Chucky show, you see characters from Child's Play 2 and Andy comes back and Jennifer Tilly's in it. And they really keep this long line of choices, even the bad ones, they keep in there. Like Seed of Chucky is fucking insane. And yet all of the weird shit that happens in Seed of Chucky, they just accept and keep going, keep writing, keep making this story, keep growing the lore. And I think it's why Chucky is, as a film series, one of my favorites, because every installment matters in the grand scheme of the tale of the character.
Yes, I mean, as the like an overarching character, I think the television show did a lot for the character. From the 80s, Chucky first came out in the 80s, right?
Chucky would have been
I think it was late 80s.
Child's Play's 88. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the 80s to the 90s, and then Seed of Chucky was 2003, 2002, 2004. So like the show brought it all together and did a really good job. I think like it didn't make me want to go back and watch any of the original Chucky films, but at the same time, I could see where the television show absolutely would have driven some people to go back and watch all these Chucky films.
I would say you have to watch the first one.
Sure.
The second one and the third one, I think you can miss. They don't add a lot to the lore. It's basically the same thing as the first movie, but maybe some different characters. But then once we hit Bride of Chucky is when it's just like, fuck it. And they just do whatever. And it bleeds into Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky, which Curse of Chucky isn't as off the wall. It's almost like a return to form for the original, like kind of taking it back to just Chucky in a house killing people. But then Cult of Chucky comes out and it just completely changes the entire thing of, then we start to get multiple Chuckies and his spirit passes on to more and more dolls. And one of the things that happens is that Tiffany, the character of Tiffany, who is Jennifer Tilly in this, after all these bodies dies, she decides to take over the body of Jennifer Tilly, the actress. And so she ends up being Jennifer Tilly again, which I love that. I love the sort of self-awareness of it. It's just a great series for that sort of shit. It's just crazy.
Yeah. All right. So what did you think of the decision? All right. Before we get into that, what do you think of the animatronics here?
Oh, I love it. I think they look great. I think there are times where the dolls look kind of creepy, but it is a horror movie. So that's fine. They don't really, like when they bring Tiffany's doll in for the first time, it still looks kind of weird. Like, there's just something off about it, which I'm fine with again, because it's going to be these animatronics. But I think the design, you've got Chucky, who's iconically designed. And this is, I think, the first time we see him with all the scars and shit. Because at the end of 3, he gets chopped up in a big fan. And so she puts him together with stitching and stuff. And this look is kind of like the one we get from here on out. Until I think the TV show, he kind of gets back to normal. But that, again, I think is actually more because there's more Chuckies and shit than anyway. But I think the animatronics look great. I love the little dolls. I think they have a lot of character to them. It doesn't hurt to be voice acted by Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly, though, because they really smashed this. And I think the perfect casting ever was Jennifer Tilly in this role. Like, she kills this thing. and just fits right in with this world so easily. And again, she's going to be here for the rest of the series, so it really helps that she is so good.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Bride of Chucky IMDb right now, and trailers playing for Liar Liar, which I don't understand. But it's weird how that just goes from one trailer to the next. No, I really did enjoy the animatronics. I thought at different times, I thought the animatronics really did, like you said, did a lot for being creepy, and bringing kind of the vibe back of the film to a horror through feeling to it. And so to me, the animatronics really did a lot, even though sometimes they were a little bit off, and like you could just really, I mean, sometimes animatronic can take you out of a movie, I think. But here, I really felt like the animatronics were done well enough to where...
And it benefits them that they're not trying to recreate something that is organic.
Right.
They get to recreate a doll. And so that takes a lot of the difficulty out of it.
Yeah. And to me, the movie really... honestly... To me, the movie, the fact that it doesn't take itself too serious and doesn't try to be this blend, it doesn't try to be like Scream 2, right? Where there's comedic elements, but there's still horror. Like Scream 2 is very much a horror film with comedic elements. This one is a straight up comedy, and to me, I think that's it. It doesn't, and the fact that it doesn't take itself too serious, is enough for me to be like, okay, I get it. I'm on board. I'm on board with, I mean, Chucky at certain times says some really stupid shit, and I'm just like, that's funny. But then I remember this is a comedy. This is this is a comedy film. This is a comedy that is kind of masquerading itself as a horror film, which is fine. Because you do have an iconic character of Chucky, and everybody that's watched this film has probably seen one of the previous Chucky films.
And I would say, if you're going to watch one, you have to watch the original. But if you're going to watch two, you watch this one.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I didn't feel the need. I needed to go back and watch 2 or 3, or 1, 2 or 3, before watching this. And I really feel like if I did, I probably would have had whiplash. A little bit
for sure,
because this is such a departure just from what I know from 1. Now you can speak to 2 and 3 better.
They're just 2 and 3 are like watered down 1.
Yeah.
They're good, but 3 is the worst of them. But generally speaking, I mean, 1 is so, like, it's genuinely a scary movie. 2 and 3, they're kind of more the same, They don't really change much, but they're just kind of weaker versions of the first one. So I think in general, unless you're hardcore, you could probably skip those 2 and jump right to this, other than like they do keep consistent with how Chucky died in the last movie is consistent with how he's brought back in the next, So that would be the only thing that you'd really miss. What
I wasn't also prepared for is young Katherine Heigl in this film.
Right? I forgot she was in this.
Yeah, I said to my wife, I was like, "Hey, is that what's her face?" She's like, "Yeah."
Oh, your wife watched this with you.
Yeah.
How did she like it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Silence is telling. You didn't ask. You didn't say, "What'd you think of that, honey?"
No.
Oh, God.
No. I think she enjoyed it.
Okay, well, I guess that's all we can hope for.
I mean, She's also not much of a horror watcher either.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, again, this is not horror. It's this is comedy. She probably enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because of the comedic tone of the film. But I didn't. What I didn't understand, and maybe you can answer it for me, but why was John Ritter such an asshole in this film? Why was his character such an asshole, I guess?
I think one of the reasons is because this movie is taking a different turn, is they kind of want you to root for Chucky a bit.
Yeah.
And so generally speaking, they tend to kill assholes, right?
Yeah.
You've got this group, and then when they're at the the hotel and that other couple comes in, they steal from our leads, and Jennifer Tilly catches it. And I think it Jennifer Tilly's killing is a little more justified, in that someone has done wrong and then she'll kill them, whereas Chucky doesn't care. Chucky's just going to kill whoever he wants. And I think that that's part of it. I think that's why they wanted John Ritter to be this douchebag that you kind of want to see get it. And again, I think that's the change in tone. Whereas in the previous films, a lot of times it's, maybe good people that are going to get killed. And that's for that's what kind of makes you afraid. You're afraid that someone you like might get killed. But in this, I don't think they really want that so much. They're fine. The guy, the cop that gets killed, Needle Nose, he's a dick throughout the movie. They kill him. So generally speaking, I might be forgetting someone, but I can't remember any character that gets offed in this that isn't unsavory in some fashion.
Yeah, it's it is interesting that, and you bring up a good point, that the film almost makes Chucky an anti-hero, maybe?
To a lesser degree. I would certainly apply that to Tiffany a little more. Like Tiffany doesn't actually want to hurt the couple. She would like to see them. She has this romantic side, and she's into the romance that the couple is going through. And at the end of the day, she sort of saves them. And so for her, I would be more willing to put that on her. Also, they make her sort of sentimental with, how come I can never meet any of the nice guys? To which I counter, you tend to want guys who kill people. Like when Alexis Arquette comes in and the character has this photograph of someone who's been mutilated, and she's like, oh, this turns her on, and then she realizes it's fake.
Right.
That's why you don't get to meet the nice guys. You like dating murderers.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting observation that the film really does make you. I don't know if I ever, while watching, was rooting for Chucky. I mean, he also is an asshole.
Well, yes, but he is. He's the one you watch, though. Like if you're watching these slasher films, you watch it for Jason, you watch it for Michael.
Sure.
Very few people are tuning in to watch it for the hero. I mean, Laurie Strode might be like the only one that you get really excited about seeing. Like especially like in the later Halloween films, these remakes or reboots, I really like seeing, man, why am I blanking on her name? Jamie Lee Curtis in that role, but none of the rest of these series really have that. So you're generally here for the killers.
Yeah. And I will say that the film really didn't get going until Chucky and what's his name that voices him?
Brad Dourif
really get on screen. I mean, the movie didn't become fun until Chucky comes back.
I don't know, man, because I love seeing Jennifer Tilly on the screen.
Well, yeah, but like,
oh man,
the movie doesn't. I mean, like, and she is the main character. Essentially, it's like 1A, 1B in this film. but it's because she's here. I mean, she probably has more screen time, or her character has more screen time than Chucky does. But he, like, it just, I don't know, man. It's just kind of different when he shows up or comes back, and then all of a sudden the film is just having fun. Is because he's either throwing one-liners or, he's doing weird shit with Jennifer Tilly's character, and so like I found myself that I was enjoying the film more when Chucky came back.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. That's definitely when it picks up. But I think the movie does a good enough job keeping me entertained anyway, because you get a kill right at the beginning of the movie with that police officer who took Chucky's body. You get the very attractive Jennifer Tilly throughout the film. And then you get Alexis Arquette, who's extremely entertaining in the role as Damien. I still think that's all a good section. The part without that is when the young couple, what's her name? Katherine Heigl, her stepdad or her uncle is being hard on her, and she has her gay friend pick her up, and he presents much more as someone who's going to Berkeley or whatever fancy college, and then you find out that she's actually dating this other guy. So you get all that little character development, and I could get behind that a bit. And it is better when Chucky gets on screen because, frankly, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I mean, throughout the film, it's kind of the kills are kind of humorous. From like Damien and getting, I guess, suffocated by Chucky. Initially, didn't he? And then I think he ends up stabbing him. But, and then the gay guy gets run over by a truck.
One of the best kills in the movie,
right.
because
he
just steps out and then he just turns to mist. Just a really good kill there. And that's one of the good guys, like one of the few good guys who gets killed in this movie, but he doesn't get killed by Chucky.
Right.
Because he is a good guy. Like, he's there with his friends. He's trying to help them out. He doesn't really believe that they're these murderers as they've been sort of portrayed to be, and he dies for it. So I could say that is the meanest the movie maybe gets.
and then the couple in the hotel, and I thought that was one of the more inventive kills, although not original, but but it was also, that was kind of maybe dated CG, or I don't even know what you would call the mirror shards coming down.
Oh yeah, I would call it date. Yeah,
it doesn't look good.
No,
but I do think that their death, that kill was, even though it's not very gory. Like, this film's not very gory,
and there isn't that big of a body count,
right,
for a slasher, which I kind of was fine with, because I feel like this movie has one of the stronger stories of any Chucky film, and it's not just about the slashing and the killing. It's more about these two couples, but specifically the relationship between Tiffany and Chucky, that I think takes precedent, and I think it's a stronger movie for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there is a lot to be said for the back and forth that Jennifer Tilly and Chucky have. The kind of this love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
And that's
definitely toxic.
Oh yeah, for sure. But by the end of the movie, Jennifer Tilly is essentially the good guy.
To a degree.
And to a degree. She's the one that ends up.
It takes Chucky pissing her off. And, there's a point where Chucky, I don't know if you want to say accidentally stabs her, but where she's stuck on his knife, he's like, "Get off my knife," which is a pretty brutal thing to do.
Well, right, but then she also ends up essentially being the one that. Wait, I'm trying to remember how he ends up in the grave with his body, his former.
They kick him or something. He gets punted.
And that's this whole thing is just like, bro, like it's a doll, just like fucking step on it.
Well, that's the long thing about Chucky, right? Like even when Alexis Arquette has Chucky, another great scene where Alexis Arquette has Chucky's and like not even scary, and then like humps Chucky,
right,
throws it. I love that.
But it's just like, and maybe this movie is the thing that kind of like doesn't take itself too seriously, and so it makes fun of the fact that people are dying by a doll that can easily be punted,
right?
Or, so that's funny to me because I'm here thinking, just like, bro, just like kick that thing away from you. You see that thing coming towards you with a knife, just punt it. And so I did think that was funny that throughout the film, several times somebody is like either throwing Chucky or just shoving Chucky into a small space.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny to me.
It is.
But like, I do like, from somebody that is not well versed in this franchise, I did find myself enjoying the fact that this film absolutely made fun of itself. It absolutely made fun of its characters, but then also allowed its characters to actually lean into the comedic side of this franchise. And so I don't know, it's just, as somebody, me, Jeff, as somebody that is a big Chucky fan, do you enjoy serious horror Chucky more, or do you enjoy comedic?
I am in the comedy Chucky side of things. The more crazy it gets, the more I'm on board. That being said, like the first one is so excellent, but when they kept trying to do it, they never captured the magic again. But then when they did this, I was back on board, and it was this movie and the insanity that follows that kind of kept me going. So I would say this is the kind of Chucky I like. I do go back and watch the first one because it is legitimately scary and arguably is the best film of the bunch. But in general, I prefer this. And it's kind of like with Jason. I prefer zombie Jason over so the first 4 movies are not zombie. But on 6, he gets raised from the dead, and then he's zombie Jason. I've always liked zombie Jason, and I've always preferred Freddy when he's comedic Freddy as opposed to scary. And that's just my personality. I love comedies, so when you inject something with comedy, it instantly becomes more appealing to me. And so I definitely land on this side of the fence.
Yeah. No, it's... and honestly, I haven't seen enough. I mean, I've seen, the only 2 Chucky films I've seen are the OG film, and this one. But and then I have seen the 2 seasons of the television series.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed the television series because of it's, I would say it's a blend. It's a blend
Yeah.
of these two films that I've seen.
It's not as crazy, although it can be,
Right.
Because they bring in Jennifer Tilly and all of the stuff. So, yeah, I think it tries to rein it back just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's not crazy, but it also is unexpectedly heartwarming in a sense. The television show I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I as somebody that is not a Chucky aficionado like yourself, I do think that this film, Bride of Chucky, is enough to, like, for me to be like, oh, maybe I should go watch,
I think you should.
other Chucky films, because I do think there is something to be said for, one, the character, and two, the departure from horror to comedic slasher, that and it's well done enough to where I'm like, okay, let me go see what these other films are about. And so, like, I don't feel the need to go watch Chucky 2.
Yeah, 2 and 3 you could probably pass, but I put it in our little Discord chat. Put a link to a picture from Seed of Chucky,
Okay.
and what's in that cup is what you think's in that cup.
Oh, okay, good, cool.
Yeah, there's a scene where Chucky jerks off into a cup.
Seed
Anyway.
of Chucky. That
It's precise, right? It's insane. Like,
yeah.
Seed of Chucky is when shit really gets crazy. It is the jump the shark moment.
Okay. Well, all right, Jeff. I think we've kind of hit all over this one, but do you recommend this film?
Yes, I do. I love Bride of Chucky. It is a whole lot of fun, and I think even if you don't like Chucky, this one might do it for you, or it might turn you off of the series completely. But it's worth a watch. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, if I had seen the previous two films, I absolutely think I would have had whiplash. But because I haven't seen 2 and 3, and I've only seen 1, I think there is it's not enough for me to be like, oh, what the fuck? Why is this film so different than the other ones? So because of that, I'm going to recommend it, because I don't have, like, it's not jarring to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and this one is done well enough on the comedy side to where I can, it's almost like this film was kind of Bonnie and Clyde-esque.
They even mentioned that at one point.
They did. And I think that's maybe why it was in my mind, but it does. The only thing about it is that, and they both characters are dead, right? Jennifer Tilly's character.
Well, she's giving birth at the end.
She's
of the movie.
giving birth,
she's
but
not
like
dead.
it's like she's. Didn't she die in childhood? I don't know. Like,
it doesn't matter. She comes back in the sequel. Like,
right.
They all come back.
So, like, there is actually that Bonnie and Clyde-esque type moment where these characters are killed off, quotes, but no, yeah, I'll recommend this one just because it's not what I thought it was going to be, and I enjoyed it. So
Good.
Jeff, what are we watching to conclude our Rushmore?
Well, the next episode comes out on Halloween Day, and we have a thing like with our leap year. We put an episode out on Leap Day, and so we did a review of the movie Leap Year. So this time we got to review Halloween, and we're going to watch the original Halloween from 1978, starring the aforementioned Jamie Lee Curtis. I haven't seen this in ages, and I don't know if I've actually ever seen this from start to finish. Like, I've seen the whole movie, but in like different parts. But I don't know if I've seen it all the way through in one sitting. So, and we'll be in the same room together.
Yep.
Looking forward to that.
It's been a minute, and so I am looking forward to watching this as well, because I haven't seen it. I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
And so there's that element, and I mean, admittedly, on the podcast, I'm not a horror fan.
Which is noted by the horror months where you pick things that aren't fucking horror, and then on Christmas you picked horror movies, which I appreciated. Don't hear me wrong.
However, I almost wish instead of Leprechaun, I had picked Art the Clown. And
part of me wishes that too, but just because Leprechaun does not belong here.
I don't know if Art the Clown would have belonged here either, but
have you watched 2 yet?
Yes, I have.
You watched Terrifier 1.
And just you don't know this, but my 5-minute review of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 are on Monday and Tuesday this week.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that.
On the YouTube channel. So it's I not to spoil my. Well, it's not spoiling myself. Because
I mean, you watched the first one.
Yeah.
And then watched the second.
I
so
did.
At
back
the
to
very
back
least, nights. Did your wife watch these with you?
She did. With her hands were over her face for most of it because it is that bad. Not bad.
I've not actually seen these, but I've seen some of the more popular clips.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, and this was something you said, that you had watched it and it's extreme. And I said, well, from what I understand, the first one is tame compared to what is to come. And now that you've seen the second film, would you say that's true?
That 100%. Even though, and I think it's more because 2 has a much bigger budget.
Yeah.
Because 1 is your classic indie film, low budget indie film.
Yes, because I started it and it did not. I don't want to say it did not look great, but it definitely showed its budget.
Sure, but honestly, the film is made by Art the Clown. He is as a character almost after the first one. He's iconic as a character. Because it's just so wild. Like, the character is just so wild. And the things that he does are just so crazy. And so, and he's a mime. So he doesn't talk. Like, there are no words. He's on screen for a ton of the film and says absolutely nothing. And so, and then it's the same thing for the second one. And so, it's crazy how menacing a character can be by saying nothing. There's no grunts, there's no gasps. He doesn't even in I think it was the Jason film we watched.
Yeah.
I think he actually had some groans or grunts or whatever it was. This motherfucker Art the Clown says shit, doesn't make any fucking sounds, and he is crazy. And so I actually say it as an aside, but I kind of wish we could have reviewed any of those movies instead of fucking Leprechaun. But we had a good episode with Leprechaun because Eric and Elliot were on it. But
that's true.
But anyways, yeah.
So are you going to watch the third one?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Just to see how much more crazy and wild, because I've already heard there's things in the third film that made people just walk the fuck up out the theater. And I thought there is a scene in, and I guess it's pretty well known in these horror channels, but there's a bedroom scene in Terrifier 2. Okay.
Because the things I've heard so much about this movie that I've been scared to watch it, but I would hear people talk about the worst, quote unquote scene. I say, well, let me see if I can do this. I'm good. And yeah, I can do that. I can sit through that. I was a little worried about you because on our Bone Tomahawk episode, there was a scene in there where someone gets split in two.
Oh, yeah.
And you were not happy.
I wasn't, but the split in two scene comes in the first film, or the first Terrifier film.
Right.
And so I was actually because I'd seen Bone Tomahawk, I was actually like, oh, I mean, this is crazy, but it's like, I've seen Bone Tomahawk,
this.
right? And so
are there any moments of regret during your watching of these last two films?
no. No, it's because after the first one, I'm like, okay, like this is what these films are. And if you've watched my 5-minute review of those films, which if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I'm not saying you, Jeff. I'm just saying those of you watching on YouTube. They
aren't available for me in the current moment, but I will watch them as soon as they release. I'm looking forward to it.
But anyways, Art the Clown is now one of my, in consideration for a spot on the Rushmore. Just so you know.
I'm happy to hear it. And this conversation might push it over the top, and I might go watch them.
You should. You should, just so we can kind of talk about it next week. But anyways, before you do anything, Jeff and all of you watching on the YouTube, you should hit the subscribe button when it pops up so you don't miss any future content here on the podcast. And even if you're not watching on the YouTube and you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, we're at Movie Draft House. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube. So give us a like, follow, subscribe. And if you want to follow Jeff on any of your favorite social media platforms, too bad. You motherfucker.
The handle is the same on all of them. It doesn't exist.
Oh, well.
But if you wanted to follow Mark on Twitter, you actually can. You can find him at I Heard You Liked.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just
really excited for these Terrifier reviews.
Art the Clown
Terrifier is currently free. Well, it's currently on Prime.
They're both on Prime. So
are they? Okay.
Yeah. Good. Maybe only for a limited time because it's Halloween season, but I really am waiting. I'm not going to pay to go watch Terrifier 3 in the theaters, but I actually am looking forward to watching. And that I wouldn't have said that after Terrifier 1. But because Terrifier 2, and so it's crazy, and I mentioned this in my 5-minute review, it almost doubles its runtime. It's crazy.
I've heard it's long. Like there's even maybe too long.
It is too long, but because it is, it's such a. There's also like Terrifier 2 introduces an actual protagonist, rather than just this crazy maniacal antagonist. So there is that, but it's wild because Terrifier 2, or the original Terrifier, is only like an hour and 24 minutes long. And honestly, the first 5 minutes of Terrifier, the first one, have no real bearing on the entire story. So it's almost like the movie is almost nothing, runtime wise.
Yeah.
Terrifier 2 is 2 hours and 15 fucking minutes. It's wild. It's wild that this guy that made these films,
Damien Leone,
I
believe is his name.
Yeah. That he said, "Oh, motherfucker, you wanted more? Okay. Here's an entire other movie on top of this first." So it's wild. It's the Terrifier films are kind of like pulp culture stuff. Like this Art the Clown guy, he is kind of like popular in spite of himself, really. And so it's kind of cool how pop culture can like not take itself too seriously, but also be like, what the fuck are we doing as a society where we're like, yeah, let's go see this Art the Clown guy. He is this crazy motherfucker, and the kills and all this. It's wild. I call it in my 5-minute review gore porn, and that's really what it is. So, anyways,
who knew we'd get a bonus review?
Who knew? You
get a sneak peek at something that already came out. Mark's review.
And you know what else is a sneak peek? Jeff, do we have any final words?
Oh, none whatsoever.
It's not a sneak peek then.
Nope.